Modified version is almost done. Hopefully my calculations are correct, otherwise I got another 10 hours of printing and a lot of wasted material for that matter. Down to the last final minutes. Once it's done printing, the nozzle is at 220 degrees and the platform is at 60 degrees. Those are both Celsius, by the way. Once it's done, we're going to let it cool. Oh, look at that, just finished. Once it's done, we're going to let it cool down because it'll be easier to remove the part when it's cooled down, and I don't want to force it and break it, especially since it just took 11 hours and 4 minutes for this. So that'll start to cool down on its own. So you can see it was at 220 degrees Celsius for the filament and 60 for the bed, and the temperature automatically shuts it off. And tell it I can do two things. I can actually power it off, but I'm going to disable steppers, and the reason being is I can now move the bed completely out without damaging anything, and I'll be able to see when it's at room temperature. I'm worried about these stanchions. This is my fix that I went for, and it's a little bit of a pain, but it creates these little supports here. So I got to rip out about 1 1/4 inches of support here somehow without damaging it. Might have to do it with a drill bit. When it was only about 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch, I was able to get it out easily. That's the last thing I want to break, and you may not be able to see it, but here's that little peekaboo hole for the camera that I made, and I'm really hoping that that works. So I think the temperature is low enough. We'll start to detach this. So I am going to shut it off now that I know the temperature is okay. I am using my microphone adapter here, as you can see, and I have it on the arm, and I have my little light on top of there. That's why I like that cold shoe I kept talking about on there. I finally found a use for those cheap Harbor Freight chisels. One thing I read was your natural reaction to when it gets something off like this is to put your hand here. Don't. You're going to slice yourself. Kind of get it on the same side. Also, if it was a small part, you could put the bevel this way, but with the larger part, it's recommended you go this way. And you just kind of tap it. Tap, tap. Tap. I actually got something a little better than a putty knife coming. It's like a modified cake knife, from what I understand. And it's got, you know, an angle so you can work with it a little better. But don't force it, he said. Plus I don't want to damage the bed surface. Even though it's a cheap chisel, I am going to protect the surface. And put this aside for now. And here we go. This white here is the glue that I created. Someone suggested instead of using hairspray or stick glue, you put a tablespoon of sugar and 3 tablespoons of water, so 1 to 3 ratio there. And you microwave it. Don't boil the water, just heat it up and stir it till it dissolves, and you just wipe it with a paper towel on the surface while it's warm. 30 seconds later you apply it again, and then you start printing, and that helps it stick. And it's cheaper. Usually you have sugar laying around. So in the original printout, the distance, as I mentioned, between these two mount points were 5.5 inches. And I just printed it out, and my brother looked at it, and because I was showing him, he goes, "That looks too big," because he has the same truck. And it turns out it is. There's I guess when you get one of the other work trucks, the coin thing on the dash is a lot larger, and this space is actually only like 4 3/4. I have the other one in the truck where I compared it to, but that won't work with my phone. It was meant for like a Samsung, and there's no base, so the phone would just fall in. So I recreated another one. And as you can see here, I made the holes closer, and that was fine. But what I didn't plan on and didn't think of is the actual whole base of this is too wide. So that would explain why in one of the other designs it kind of came up and over. So what was I going to do? I've already wasted a lot of material here. So I came up with another design, as mentioned, where I marked off where the camera hole was in the back on the case. Now I have an extra case laying around. I could probably show you that, but Anyway, so I marked it off and made some radiuses as shown in the drawing. I'll try to stick it up in the window there. And I came up with this here. And that looks pretty good. There's the hole cut out for the camera. And I gave it some extra room and did a chamfer here and on the back to kind of make it look nicer. And the dodge was too big. It was protruding into the extrusion here. So I shrunk that down to 0.9 from 100, so 90%. And then I had to shift it over a little bit. And the kind of, I want to use the word kludgy, and that's kind of what it is to make it work, was I made the stanchions taller. So this will sit it up in the dashboard high enough. Plus, actually, it'll do one thing, is I put my glasses there. The truck, for whatever reason, they didn't put an sunglass holder, eyeglass holder on the roof line. So I put my sunglasses there. So this will actually still allow me to use the sunglasses. So that's actually a good thing. So we need to clean this up. And this is kind of the scary part, because I worry about breaking it. You have to break away all this support material. Now, I'm using the new version of Cura. And you know, they're fixing it all the time, which is great, but it has its problems that it introduces new bugs. I think one of the bugs was not doing the proper extrusions. This is supposed to come out. See, I stuck my fingernail in there. This is supposed to completely come off, so I gotta kind of work that. So let's do that. That wasn't too bad. And I'll have to finish this off, maybe, you know, a little sandpaper. Some people will actually, I've been watching videos, they'll stick this in the oven at 100 degrees. Now, I don't know if, I assume that's 100 degrees Celsius. The melting temperature of this starts at about 180. And they put it in the oven, like it was somewhere between 100 and 110 for 1 hour. And that will actually strengthen the material. So this is actually pretty clean. The brim, which is like the border it creates 5 outer layers, so that the corners of this, because in the original design, as I might have mentioned, the corners started lifting, and that kind of screwed it up. Oops, sorry. So now we have material in there. You may not be able to see it, but that's going to be the pain to get out, and that's what I'm worried about breaking. So I'm going to kind of stick my screwdriver in there, twist it around. Screwdriver, listen to me. Nice pair of needle nose. Actually, I bought these back in 88, I want to say. 1988. They're Exolite. They're very good pliers. It's all we used in the school at the time. That was a big chunk that just came out. Okay. And what I'll probably have to do is, sometimes you can get away with putting the pliers in there, turning it. Now it's loose. And I'll just get the needle nose and stick that in there. There we go. Oh, see a nice big piece there. And you probably may or may not be able to see it. The light's not in the best place for this, but you can see that hole there. Now that's clear. Now we go to number 2. Take out more material. And I don't want to be too much of a brute because it is attached to the finished area. See a big chunk of support plastic in there. When I put the support plastic in the weirdest places sometimes because it thinks it needs it. It's not perfect yet. Or it could be my settings. That's another problem. Let's turn this. There we go. Another chunk of plastic out of there. So the original screws I think were 3/4. And you're supposed to use 1 1/4, but all they had was, geez, I don't even remember if I bought 1 1/2 or 2-inch screws. I hope they were 2-inch screws. If not, I'll have to run back to the store, and that's what you run through to the original screws. They were like a number 8 screw, I think. There we go. There's that big piece. Support piece. You see right there. There we go. That's the other big piece. Alright. Like I said, this has a slight texture to it. I don't think that bothers me, to be honest with you. And it looks like we have, see if I can't get the light through there to show you. That's one hole, that's the other hole. Well, the cheap mount I had for the suction cup broke. I'll have to kind of glue that back in. So I have to do this one-handed here. And I need, this is a little toolkit I got at Home Depot during the holidays. I need a T20, I believe. And all you have to do is flick out this. It's just held in by some clips. I do have the wrong size screws for replacement. I thought I bought 2-inch screws. I only have 1.5. That will be a problem. And they're just 3/4 inch Torx. It's around the size of a number 8. A moment of truth. And it is the right size. That's a little funky. I might have to do a little shaving on the end for the support, as you can see. That's not a big deal. Nothing a little sandpaper won't cure, a little grinder. But that's what it'll look like on the dashboard. It does not block my field of vision, which leads me to believe that the camera will not see out the front hood unless I make an adjustment. I can tilt this back a little bit, or forward, or back towards me a little bit, but that would require me to make something hold the phone. I could actually use one of those magnetic, either a magnet here and on the back, and they'll kind of click it and leave it in place. But I think that's going to look good. It doesn't get in the way. My sunglasses look like they'll still fit in there when I'm done riding, getting out of the truck. So while there was some issues with the components, getting them perfect, I think the extra inch, well, the total of the inch there, it is perfect. And even if it wasn't, that's something you could just throw a washer on, right? And you could still, like I said, utilize this for the glasses, or even change, or whatever you're going to do up there. So it's done. I did end up having the screws downstairs. I used a 2-inch screw. What I may do is use a couple of thin washers underneath to just lift it a hair and shift it over, because it's not perfectly centered, and with the washer it will allow me to do that. I think overall it was a success. I tried it out, works good. I think what I would have liked to have done was to kept the height, the short 3/8 that it was, and then I could have made different like spacers. So if it ever breaks off, that could be an issue, reprinting the whole thing. But you know, that's something to think about if I ever decide to tweak the design at another time. So anyway, thank you for joining me on my first adventure of a semi done by me. The basic design was there, the most of the work by somebody else, but I had to move the stanchions as mentioned and cut in the hole and chamfer everything for the phone. Thanks for joining me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell so you know when I put out a new video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.